So today we are going to the second topic of grade 2, the second lesson of grade 2. I think we will only have 4 lessons in grade 2. So the first lesson tulifanya pitch, ledger lines, tukafanya rhythm, basic rhythm. So today ni the second lesson. And we're going to do rhythm part 2 and rhythm part 3. So we'll only be remaining with 2 more lessons after that. So as usually, we begin with terms and signs for the day. And these are the terms you're going to learn today. I believe they are still Italian terms. So the first term is espressivo, which means expressive. The second term is grazioso, which means graceful. These terms are kind of related. I think the English word is derived from these Italian words: espressivo, expressive, grazioso, graceful. They look kind of similar. And then alla marcia, in the style of a march. Again, these terms look like they resemble. Molto is very or much. Confano, if you are told molto andante or molto allegro, it means very fast. Molto is very or much. Then non troppo means not too much. When you're told allegro ma non troppo, it means fast but not too much. Ma is but. You can see down here we have ma. So allegro ma non troppo means fast but not too much. So non troppo means not too much. Poco or poco a poco means poco means a little. Poco a poco means little by little. And then we have col or con, which is a connecting word with. Col with. Con is with also. We have e or ed, a or ed, that means end. And then we said earlier ma is but. And then meno is less. Meno, less. So if you find meno, something that is this term that is used to define to mean movement. Mosso. Meno mosso means less movement. And then we have più, which means more. And then we have senza, which means without. I'm saying this so that you may be familiar with them. When you find them in the exam, they should not be a problem. Okay, so we begin our third topic in grade 2, which is rhythm, part 2. And in this part, we're going to learn about triplets, and then triplets over multiple beats, and then dotted rests. So a triplet is a group of 3 notes that are played in the same amount of time as 2 non-triplet notes of the same time value. I know it may not make sense in the beginning. I'll repeat. A triplet is a group of 3 notes, but they are played in the same amount of time that it takes to play 2 of them. Same time value. You're going to see it in a moment. So triplets are shown by a sign 3, which is added either to the middle of the beam or to a bracket when the triplet notes aren't beamed together. So this is how triplets look like. This is a triplet of 3 quavers, and this is a triplet of 3 crotchets. So what are triplets? A triplet, when you see a triplet, there must be 3 notes, or the notes that are covered by the triplet should be able to add up to some kind of 3 knots. So if it's a minim and a crotchet, that adds up to 3 crotchets. If it is a crotchet and a quiver, could add up to 3 quivers. But the values that are covered with a triplet should be able to be divided into 3. And these 3 knots should be played in time of 2 of them. So like these triplets of quivers should be played in the time of 2 quivers. And these triplets of crotchets, 3 crotchets, should be played in the time of 2 crotchets. So this is how it looks like. This is a triplet, and then the reason we know it's a triplet is because of the number 3, but it's played in the time of 2 of them. So if you play 2 quivers and I play 3 quivers with a triplet, we're going to finish at the same time. It's the same time value. And of course, all this will be equal to a crotchet. If you look at this is a triplet of 3 semiquavers, which should be played in the time of 2 semiquavers, which is equal to 1 quiver. This is a triplet of 3 crotchets, which would be played in the time of 2 crotchets, which would be equal to 1 minim. So don't forget, a triplet is a group of 3 notes that are played in the time of 2 of the same time value. Simple as that. So let's look at these measures, especially the first measure. You can see that this triplet here is counted as 1 beat. The first beat is a crotchet. The second beat is the crotchet because we're expecting 4 crotchets in a bar. The third beat is the triplet of 3 quavers, which is equal to 2 quavers, which make 1 crotchet. And the fourth beat is a crotchet. So this is what we mean by a triplet. A triplet is 3 notes played in the time of 2. 3 played in the time of 2. So if you look at this is like, when you see these 3, don't count it as 3 quavers. If you count them as 3 quavers, that will be 1 crotchet, 2 crotchet, 3 crotchet at the end, and then this will be another crotchet and an extra quiver, which is not so. If it has a triplet, then this is 3 played in the time of 2. Let's look at this other one. Again, we have triplets in this measure, and this is 3 crotchets in a bar. The first beat is this crotchet here. The second beat is these 2 quavers, and the third beat is these 3 quavers with a triplet. So these 3 triplets, 3 notes in a triplet, again, it's 3 notes played in time of 2. So whenever you see 3 quavers with a triplet, it's equal to 2 of them, 2 quavers, which is 1 beat. So this bar is not more than enough. We don't have extra notes in this bar. So we also can have rests in triplets. For example, we could have these 3 crotchets with a triplet, and the middle note here is a rest. The middle one is a rest. It's equal to this one on the right, which is just 3 crotchets with a triplet. So we could mix, like in this case of quavers, we have the first one as a rest, and then the next ones as quavers, and then instead of writing a 3 just anywhere, we use a bracket because they are not all beamed, and you want to cover the 3 of them and use a triplet sign. So you use a bracket. But if they are all beamed together, you just put the 3 as it's shown on the right. And then we have 3 semiquavers here. The last one is a rest, but they are covered with a triplet. So the 3 of them should be equal to 2. So it's like this triplet on the right. Any question before we move on about the meaning of a triplet and how triplets work? Let me confirm if you can all hear me. Michael, ninasikika?
Yes, unasikika.
Oh, no, umeelewa what the triplet means?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. So, tell me, Michael, is this a complete 3/4 bar? Michael, is this a correct, complete 3/4 bar?
Yes.
Okay. Ann Mukundi, have you understood what triplets mean?
Yes, I have.
Kindly explain to me how this one is 4 minims in a bar.
Oh, okay. So means in Aba because these are the meaning, and there are 4 quavers in a meaning. 4 quavers add up to 1 meaning. So it's a meaning, and a meaning. These are quavers. No, what am I saying?
We don't need quavers here. We don't need the logic of quavers here. We just need to know about the triplets and how
Yes,
to interpret them.
I get you, teacher. So the three meaning, which are in brackets, are equivalent to 2 meaning.
Yes.
Yeah.
Correct. So that makes 4 meanings if you add the first 2 meanings at the beginning.
Yes.
Correct. So may I ask you, this triplet, does it cover 1 or 2 bits?
It covers 1 bit.
Okay. So what is a bit in 4/2?
It's 2 crotchets in every bit.
Every bar.
Every bar, yeah.
It should not be 2 crotchets. 2 crotchets is 2/4. 2/4 is 2 crotchets.
It's a minim in every bar.
How many minims?
2.
2 minims will be 2, 2. 2 minims will be 2 at the top, 2 at the bottom.
Okay.
So in a time signature, what does the top number tell you?
The number of bits in a bar.
But you have not told me 4, and the top number here is 4.
Okay, so it's 4 crotchets in each bar, 4 quavers in a bar.
4 quavers will be 4/8 because a quiver is an 8th note.
What?
4 quavers will be 4/8. So what does the bottom number tell you in a time signature?
It tells me the number of...
Not the number. The number is the top. The top one tells you the number. What about the bottom? The top number is the number of bits. What about the bottom number? The bottom...
does it tell me about the value of...
Yes, the value.
Yeah.
The value. So 2 will be half note, 4 will be quarter note, and 8 will be 8th notes. Is that clear? So this time signature tells you that there are 4 halves, 4 half notes. And what is a half note?
A half note is a quiver.
Hapana, quiver ni 8th note. Quavers zikiwa 8 ndo zinatengeneza 1 semibrieve. 8 of them. So, and quarter note is what we call a crotchet. Half note should be a half of a semibrieve. Remember, when you
Okay.
call them as half, quarter, or eighth, we relate them to the semi-brief. So what is the other name for a half note?
The minim.
Minim, you're right. So there are 4 minims in a bar. And
Okay.
actually, you said it in the beginning when you said that the 3 minims in a triplet will be equal to 2. That's what you said. And then when you add
Yeah.
to the other 2, they become 4. And you can clearly see now there are 4 minims in a bar.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was asking you about how the triplet, does the triplet cover 2 bits or 1 bit?
It covers 1 bit.
Covers 1 bit. Okay, let's listen from someone else. Evelyn Gateshak. Do you agree with her that the triplets cover 1 bit?
No,
How many bits?
2 bits.
It covers 2 bits because they are 3 and they are equal to 2.
2, yes.
And each of them is a bit, like we have 4 minims. So we have 2 here and then 2 covered. But you will notice that previously we did cover with the triplet only 1 bit. Like in this case, the 3-4 bar here, these 3 quavers cover 1 bit. So triplets can also cover more than 1 bit. Like in this case, these are 2 bits. And then we have this other one, and I want to hear from Mary Mora. Is this a complete or a correct 4-4 bar? Kindly count and tell me if this is a 4-4 bar.
Yes, it is.
How? Count and tell me. 4-4 means?
There is 3, 1, 2, 3. There are kuna 3 crotchets and 1 minim.
3 crotchets and 1 minim. But 4-4 means that there are 4.
No. So it's not a complete bar. No.
It is actually more than enough. We have 5 crotchets.
Yes.
Is that
There are
right?
5. Yes.
We
yes.
have 5
yes,
crotches.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
this is, look at this other one. Is this one a complete bar?
Yes. No, it's not.
Why?
Because as you have said, for the triplet bars, they only identify only the 2 crotchets.
Oh,
the
this
triple.
This
yes.
is a triplet, Cindy.
Yes.
Now
yes.
this triplet, they are 3 crotchets.
Yes. Yeah.
And they are equal to how many crotchets?
2.
2. If you add a minim, how
Yes.
many crotchets do they become?
It will be 4.
And that is 4-4.
Yes.
So this is a
It is a
complete
complete
4-4 bar.
Yes.
So the previous one without the triplet was not okay, it was extra, but the triplet now compresses the 3 into to be equal
Yes.
to 2.
Yes.
Does it make sense?
Yes. Yes, it does.
Okay, thank you. So let us analyze these 2 bars, 2 staves. We have 4-4, and you can see these 3 crotchets that are equal to 2 because of the triplet. That makes 2 crotchets, and then 3rd crochet and the 4th crochet. So these 3 crotchets with a triplet adds up to 2 bits. And then these 2 also is 2 minims in a bar, and you can see we have 3 minims in the first bar, but because of the triplets they add up to 2 minims. I hope now it's becoming clearer. So this is a reminder: a group of 3 triplet knots is equal to 2 non-triplet knots of the same time value. Don't forget that. We also have dotted rests. We learned about dotted knots earlier. The dotted rests work exactly the same way as dotted knots. A dot after a rest adds on half the value of the rest again. So this is a crochet rest, with a dot, it is equal to a dotted crochet. This is a quiver with a dot, it's equal to a dotted quiver. Now, let me see from Anthony. Let me hear from Anthony if you're still here, kama hauko kwa meetings zako zenye unaingianga ukiwa umeingia class.
Actually, I'm on the road. Ndio natoka meeting.
Oh, sawa.
Niko kwa barabara natembea tu nikisoma.
Oh, sawa. Acha tusikie basi kutoka kwa Michael. Tell me one rest that we will add here to make a complete bar.
Quarter rest.
Crochet rests.
Yeah.
So a crochet rest, if you add
With a dot.
with a dot, yes, this is should
Yes.
be a dotted crochet rest, because this is two minims in a bar. The C with a slash, it's two minims, a la breve, two minims. So we are lacking, we have a minim at the beginning and then we have a quiver. So we need a dotted crochet. And this is the correct answer. Thank you so much. Let's listen from Evelyn. Which one rest will we add here to make it a complete bar?
A quiver rest with a dot.
A quiver rest with a dot. You're right. That's correct. That's correct. Okay, so that is the the third topic, the rhythm part 2. Now, the other part of rhythm in grade 2 is about grouping of notes, and then grouping notes across multiple beats, and then grouping rests. And then after this, we will have done with today's lesson. We'll be done with today's lesson. So, grouping of notes. Remember we said about grouping notes in grade 1, and this is what we said. We group notes together into beats, into the beats. Like, for example, we grouped notes into crochet beats because we were doing 2/4, 3/4, and 4/4 in grade 1. In grade 2, we have added 3/2 and 2/2 and 3/8 to our time signatures. So we will have more to learn about grouping of notes. Remember, we group notes together in order to make music easier to read. And in grade 1, we learned that quavers and semiquavers are joined together with beams, and using beams makes it easier to see how rhythms fit into the beat. When many different time values are being used, grouping is very important. Why is it so? You get to look at the music and you can see the beat clearly. So, quavers and semiquavers can be beamed into beats. So in time signatures with a crochet beat, that is 3/4, 4/4, and 2/4, that is 2 crochets, 3 crochets, or 4 crochets, they can be beamed into crochets. So if you have 4 semiquavers, beam them together to make a crochet. These 4 semiquavers here are making 1 crochet, as you can see. And then this other one on the right, the second last beat, this is a dotted quiver and a semiquaver. A dotted quiver is equal to 3 semiquavers, and the semiquaver, the fourth one here. So this is a whole beat. This is a crochet beat that's beamed together here. And then there's a fourth beat here that's beamed together. Please note that if every beat is separated, like beat 1, beat 3, beat 4 is separate from each other, but each beat is connected together to show the beat. Now, let's look at this other one. This is an example of a time signature with a minim beat. time signature with a minim beat. So in this case, we have 3 minim beats per minute. Kindly don't forget your time signatures. You can go back to that topic and watch the video again. Time signature is very important. It may mess you up if you can't interpret it correctly. This is 3 minims in a bar. So what is our beat here? Our beat is a minim. You can see these 4 quavers are joined together to show a beat which is a minim. In this case, this is not a crochet beat. Our beat is a minim. So we combine 4 quavers together to show that minim beat. And then the second beat will be the crochet and the 2 quavers, and the third beat will be the last minim here. So the following measures are grouped correctly. See how each beat is readable, because the reason we are grouping notes is to make them readable. Look at the 4 quavers, how they are combined together to make a beat, a minim beat. And look at the 4/4 here at the bottom. We have 2 quavers making a beat, this quiver and 2 semiquavers making another beat, dotted quiver and semiquaver making another beat, and then 2 quavers again making another beat. So this is how we group the first part. And then the second part, we have this as our beats, very clearly outlined. Now, this is again examples of readable music. You can see the same thing is happening because this is a crochet beat. You can see the first crochet clearly. You can see the second and the third crochet. It's about seeing. You should be able to see the beats. We have 2/4, and you can see the first beat here, the 4 semiquavers, very clearly done, and then the second crochet beat. Again, this is 2 minims. You can clearly see the first minim, the 4 quavers, and the second minim here, the 2 quavers and the crochet. And then 3/4, we have 1 beat, 2 beats here, and the dotted quiver and the semiquaver make another beat. And then this other grouping here, the beamed notes, make another beat. Anyone with a question concerning grouping? So let me ask Mary, how will you group this measure to make a good 4/4 bar?
Naweza saidiwa hapo.
So it means you have not understood.
Please. Yes.
So I want to interact with you to make sure that you have understood. What is it that you have not understood?
What are the measures ndo inafanya uweze kugroup a certain beat?
You need to know what the beat is. So if the beat is a minim, you group notes that make a minim.
Okay.
If the beat is a crochet, then you group notes to make a crochet. Do you know what a beat means? A beat?
Yes.
A beat, for example, in 3/4, the bottom here, what is a beat? Is it a minim, a crochet, or a quiver? What is our beat in 3/4? Yeah, it's a crochet. So you can see that this first crochet is alone, it's a 1 beat. And then the second, the dotted quiver and the semiquaver, when you add them together, you make 1 crochet.
Yes.
That is why they are grouped together using this beam. Otherwise, if it's not for beaming, this dotted quiver will be having its own flag hanging, and this other semiquaver with its own 2 flags hanging.
Okay.
Is it making sense?
Yes, it does.
So how will you group these?
Okay.
How many beats are there in this bar?
6.
Okay, time signature. What does the time signature say?
It says 4, so it's being grouped in crochet.
Yes, 4 crochets. So
Yeah.
yes, there are 6
Yes.
knots, but we should be
Yes.
having 4 beats. Now you see, the
Yes.
reason you said 6
Yeah.
is because the grouping is
Yeah.
done badly. If the grouping was done
Yeah.
correctly, you
Yeah.
could clearly see the 4 beats. So help us arrange
Yes.
this so that we can see the 4 beats clearly by beaming together knots that should be beamed.
I would beam the second and third note
Exactly, the 2
to
quavers.
form one. Yes, the 2 quavers and the last 2 quavers.
Correct. And this is how they will look like. Now, is it now clearer to see the
Yeah.
4 beats here?
Yes.
This is the purpose of grouping. That is why we group
Okay.
music, to avoid confusion as you are reading the music.
Okay.
Is it making sense now?
Yes.
Now tell me how we are going to group this one, then we'll hear from someone else. Look at the time signature, it will help you know how to group.
I'm answering the question.
Yes, yes.
Okay. 3, 1. I would group the second to the 1, 2, to the 5th note.
The 4
The
semiquavers.
the 4 semiquavers. I will group the 4 semiquavers and the 2 quavers
Okay.
to form the 3 beats.
Good. That's how
Yes.
they will look like. And you can see they are clearly
Yes.
3 beats. This is why we group notes. If we don't group notes, they look confusing, even in reading.
Yes.
But when you group them, it's clearly, you can see the 1 beat, second, and the third beats.
Okay.
Thank you. I hope it now makes sense.
Yes, it does.
And Mokundi, are we together?
Yes, we are.
So tell me how we will group this.
I will group the 3 semiquavers to remain with two quavers to be 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, grouping the 3 semiquavers to remain with the minim and 2 quavers.
Okay, look at the time signature. What does the time signature tell us?
It's a 3/4. Time signature is 3/4.
So what is the meaning of 3/4?
The beat is a quaver.
Quaver. We have semi-brief, minim, crotchet, quavers. You mean quavers? Quavers is an 8th note. So we will be having 3/8 if our beat is a quaver.
Okay. So it's a crochet.
Yes, 3 crochets. Don't confuse the names because a whole note is a semi-brief. What is the half of a semi-brief?
Half of a semi-brief is a minim.
That is what we call a half note. What is the half of a minim?
Is a crochet.
That is what we call a quarter note because it's a quarter of a semi-brief.
Okay.
And then the half of a crochet is
a quaver.
That's what we call an 8th note. You see how we go halving the values?
Yeah.
So this is 3,
4.
3, 4, which means there are 3
crochets in a bar.
So start from the beginning and start grouping 3 crochets. The first crochet is evident, it's alone.
Yeah.
So where does the second crochet begin and where does it end?
It is the second crochet, that is a quiver.
Remember, you're not supposed to skip anything. We're just going from left to right, considering everything. Yeah.
Okay.
And this is a dotted note. The second note here is a dotted quiver. Don't miss the dot.
Okay. I'm not sure. Maybe someone may help me.
So what is
Kindly.
this note? What is the second note here?
That's a quiver.
It's a dotted.
I can't see the dot well.
Yeah, that's why I told you not to miss the dot. Now you can see it.
Yeah.
So it's a dotted quiver.
Mm.
And what is our beat again? What is our beat in this 3/4?
A crochet.
Crochet. What are we remaining with when we have a dotted quiver in order to make a crochet?
We are remaining with a semi-brief, with a semi-quiver.
Semi-quiver. And what comes next here?
It's a semi-quiver.
So they all have flags, is that right?
Yeah.
So we should beam them together to make a crochet. You can see the second beat there?
Yes, I can.
And then the third beat?
Yes, it's a semi-quiver. So we beam together the dotted quiver with the semi-quiver.
That will be the second beat.
Okay. Yeah.
And then the third beat, the last beat.
The third, we beam the 3 notes together, the 2 semi-quivers and a quiver together.
And this is how they should look like. You see, they are less confusing now. Is it making sense now?
Yeah, it does.
How about this
one?
You have a...
Okay, sorry. A question, but I can answer this one first. These are 2.
That means there are
in a bar.
Yes, 2 minutes in a bar. So the first beat is evident. You can see the minute.
Yeah. Yes.
And the second beat?
The second beat is I will beam the that is a quiver. I will beam the rest of the notes together to get a minimum.
Okay, but remember you cannot beam a crochet because it doesn't have a flag.
Okay.
You only beam what can be beamed. And so you'll beam from the quiver, the 2 semi-quivers to look like this. And still you can see the second beat clearly because you can see the first half as the crochet and the second half of the beat as the quiver and the 2 semi-quivers beamed together.
Okay.
Makes sense?
Yeah.
Okay, you were asking something.
Okay, I was asking about the flat that is just between the clef and the time signature.
Oh, that's a key signature. You remember we did key signature at the beginning in grade 1. 1 flat is F. 1 sharp is G major. You remember us doing those scales?
Yes.
Yes, that is the flat here, but it shouldn't be considered here with the time signature. I just forgot to remove it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it has no meaning in this case.
It has meaning. It has meaning that the key signature is F, but we are not dealing with pitch or the scale here. We are going to deal with the scale later. So right now we're just looking from the 3/4 going forward.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. So thank you. Evelyn, did you speak last or Mary spoke last?
Question.
You are the one. Okay, I think I spoke last with Mary. Now it's your turn.
I also have a question.
Yes, please.
The one that you are asking, Ann Mukundi. Not this one. Not this one. The other one. Yes, this. Not this one. The other one.
The previous.
Yes.
This one.
Yes, this one.
Mm-hmm.
I was asking,
Mm-hmm.
can you shift something from, like, in this the 3/4,
Mm-hmm.
there is a dotted quiver
Mm-hmm.
and there are three semiquavers,
Mm-hmm.
and the last one it's a quiver.
Mm-hmm.
Can you shift the last quiver to bring it here to this dotted semiquiver?
Dotted quiver.
Oh, the dotted quiver.
No, you can't. You're not supposed to rearrange rhythm. You're supposed to just
Oh,
group them, because if you rearrange, they will sound differently.
okay.
So if you rearrange, you'll have changed it. But
Oh,
if you group, you have just made it clear to see how the beat is.
oh, okay.
Yeah, so you're not supposed to change it in any way. That's
Okay.
a good question. Many students make that mistake of rearranging.
Yes.
Yeah, because they see some other notes that could make sense if they were here, so they tend to rearrange, but you should not. Just group them to
Yeah.
make them clear.
Okay.
Okay, so let's look at these. Was it this one? No, this one, she solved it. Yeah, it is that one actually. So how will you group these 3/4? I think we did something like this earlier. But you can still try it. How can you group this into 3/4?
You're asking me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. The first one, it's okay.
Mm-hmm.
The first, it's okay. The second one,
Mm-hmm.
you will group the 1, 2, 3, the 4 semiquavers,
Mm-hmm.
and the other one will group the 2 semiquavers and the 1 quiver.
Correct. That makes 3/4. So in 2/4, this is now the last part. In 2/4 and 3/4, notes can be beamed together over multiple beats. So far we have been talking about single beats, grouping into single beats, single beat, single beat, single beat. But we can also beam together notes that cover multiple beats within a bar. So for example, we should beam quavers that add up to 2 crotchet beats. So if you have quavers that add up to 2 crotchet beats, that is 4 quavers in 2/4 or in 3/4, beam them together. So in 2/4, notice here that a beat is a crotchet. So we should be having 2 quavers and then 2 quavers. But this is something in music that when there are 2 beats, 2 crotchets, you can beam the quavers together. It makes it easier to read also. So this is a right way. Even in 3/4, even if we have a crotchet and 4 quavers, beam the 4 quavers together. So anytime in 2/4 or 3/4, and you find 4 quavers following each other, beam them together. Beam them together. And then if we have 6 quavers that make a complete bar in 3/4, again beam all the 6 quavers together. And please take note that this is the only case where we beam 6 quavers together. If you see 6 quavers together, it's obviously 3/4. It cannot be anything else. 3/4. If you have all the quavers and all are quavers, take it like literally quavers. If there is 1 semiquaver, then this is not true. If there are 2 semiquavers, then each beat should be grouped separately, if there is any mixed note here. But if they are all quavers, beam them together. The same with the 4 quavers and the 4 quavers in 3/4. They have to be quavers, not semiquavers. Please take note of that. And then we have in 4/4, the same thing applies. The quavers can be beamed into groups of 4, but not in the middle of the bar. Not in the middle of the bar. So look at the difference between these two. We have the first 2 beats beamed together and the last 2 beats beamed together. You can beam either. But The second one, the 4 in the middle of the 4/4, it's not correct. The reason is the third beat of 4/4 is a strong beat, not a very strong like the first beat, but it's a strong beat. It should be given its own beginning. So we should never mix the second and the third beat unless it's a minim. Then you can't do anything with it. You should not use unnecessary ties. But if it's beaming, never beam across the second and the third beat of a 4/4 time signature. Never. So the second one is wrong, but the first is right. As we said earlier, you can beam 4 quavers together. Now look at this 3/8. In 3/8, as long as it's not a crochet, because you cannot beam a crochet, always beam everything that you find. Everything. Quavers, semiquavers, mixture, beam them all together. Don't separate quavers like this. Like 2 semiquavers, 2 semiquavers, 2 semiquavers. That's wrong. You should beam even the quavers, beam them together. In 3/8, you should always be seeing beams, beams, beams throughout. Unless it's a crochet. If it's a crochet, don't beam it. You should not beam crochets. I hope that makes sense. I don't know what's making noise with my computer. Okay, so look at this. Grouping knots across multiple beats is what we are looking at. So for knots that are longer than a beat, that's like a dotted minim or a dotted crochet, it is not necessary to show each new beat with a new tied knot. Avoid using ties within a bar when a single knot could be used instead. So, like these 3/4 here, the second part here, the bottom part is how you should not do it. Why tie a minim and a crochet if you could write a dotted minim? This is unnecessary use of a tie. Why tie a crochet to a quiver if we could use a dotted crochet? So if this crochet was tied to a semiquiver, then we could use a tie. But when you tie something to something of half its value, then that's a dotted knot. And you're going to be tested on this very much. So make sure that you don't use unnecessary ties. When you can use a dotted knot, use a single knot. That's a dotted knot. Only when it's very necessary should you use a tie. But it's very rare in simple time, unless you're crossing one bar to another. Any question concerning this?
Molim. Hi, I'm home now. That last bit, unless you are crossing a bar, that's when you can tie. I think I did get that one.
If you want to use a tie, mostly when we learned about ties, we learned that they are usually used to cross the bar. So if you want 2 minims and you have 3/4, you can only get 1 minim and a crochet in one bar. So you can tie that last crochet to another crochet in the next bar to achieve a minim across the bars. You should go and watch that video again.
Yeah.
Okay. So, how do we group rests? First of all, if a bar is completely silent, there is no knot in a bar, use a semi-brief rest. Be it 2/2, be it 3/4, be it 4/4, a semi-brief rest is what shows a completely silent bar. Semi-brief rest, always. And then you only use a single rest when the first or second half of a 4/4 or 2/4 is silent. So if you have a 4/4 or 2/4 and the first half is completely silent or the second half is completely silent, use one rest. Don't divide it. So in 4/4, you can see the first one here is right because the first 2 crochet beats is represented by a crochet. You should not split them like this. And remember, this is only for 4/4 and 2/4. use one rest for the first beat, for the first half or the second half. If you divide it, you get it wrong. Now, apart from that, apart from 4/4 and 2/4, 4/4 actually, apart from 4/4, in every other circumstance, use one rest for each beat of silence. So in this 3/4, writing a crotchet and then 2 crotchet rests individually is correct. If you use a minim rest, it's wrong. This is only used for 4/4 when it's first half or second half that is silent. In this 2/4, you can see the first beat is the quiver and the semiquiver rest, and the second beat is the crotchet. So you could tell yourself, why not do a dotted crotchet here? It's because a dotted crotchet is more than a beat, and you're saying in other circumstances, use one rest for each beat of silence, one best rest for each beat. So when you use a dotted crotchet rest, then the first beat will end in the crotchet, which is wrong. We should be able to clearly see the beat. The only circumstance where you should combine rests, and make a rest that is of 2 beats is only in 4/4 and nothing else. In 4/4, the first 2 beats or the second 2 beats, the first half or the second half of the bar in 4/4 only can be done with a with a minim rest to combine 2 beats together, first half or second half. In every other circumstance, let each beat get its own rest. So what is wrong with this 2/4 here at the end? We are using more than necessary rest. The last 2 semiquiver rests, the last 2 quiver rests should be combined into one beat. This is using extra unnecessary rests. So the right way should be a quiver and a quiver rest to finish the beat, and then the second beat should have its own rest. Look at this 4/4. When we are having 2 rests in the middle of a 4/4 bar, we don't group them together with a minim rest as shown in the right. you divide each of them. In 4/4, we said you can only combine rests when it's the first half or the second half, not in the middle. Not in the middle. So this is the right way of writing 2 rests in the middle, 2 beat rest in the middle of a 4/4 bar. And that's it. Any question?